Hey guys, welcome back to Edenic Roundtable, the virtual sessions. I'm Wayne Willis. As usual, I'm joined by Rob Lewis and Jamie Del Grosso from Edenic Group. Hi, boys.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Wayne.
And we're delighted to have another guest on the show today, Jordan Harvey, dialing in all the way from across the pond in Canada. Hi, Jordan.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, really good. So as a bit of background, Jordan is assistant marketing manager for a major consumer goods firm, Church and Dwight. If you don't know who they are, you will know their brands because they're a staple in most households, particularly in over in the States and Canada. But we certainly have all the equivalents over here in the UK as well. Jordan, primarily you look after most of your time spent on OxyClean, which for the UK would be Vanish. We would know that as, right?
Yeah, we're in the kind of laundry area, the stain removal.
Yeah.
Segment. Yeah. So go ahead.
And you do some Arm & Hammer stuff as well. So you've got some legacy brands that you're looking after, things like cat litter and baking soda and some other stuff that's under that.
Yeah, baking soda actually started our company. So
right.
We started as the Arm & Hammer company. So and slowly acquisitions grow, and we are what we are now.
Yeah, it's amazing that legacy, like the legacy brands that kick off the companies. I think for RB it was like Dettol. Was it Dettol? Rob, you'll know better.
It's actually something more mundane. It's like I think it's like a thing, like a blacking thing for grates on old-fashioned fires.
Oh, was it? Right.
Something really boring. Just like baking soda. Baking soda is not exactly the glamorous end of consumer goods, is it? I shouldn't say that. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
but it's still here.
Uses of baking soda.
Yeah. Sell it, Jordan. What else does it do? Yeah. Anyway, so really today we just thought it'd be really interesting to get the state side or the Canadian side, at least, perspective of what's going on in consumer world. The COVID-19 subject is obviously the big subject. We've pretty much mentioned it in every single podcast we've done for the last couple of weeks. So I'm sure people are bored of hearing it. Actually, the reason we keep mentioning it is because it's making such tangible changes to so many industries and what's going on, but also what's going on for consumerism and the way that we're buying and living and all that kind of stuff, particularly in this lockdown. So for the UK, we've definitely had a turbulent time, and certainly still having a turbulent time in terms of what's going on with purchasing. How does it feel on the ground for you, Jordan? I mean, presumably it's the same sort of thing over there.
Yeah, I think you pretty much got that spot on. I think in terms of how people generally purchase, I would say Canada and the UK are probably relatively similar. I think the States, they're kind of a little bit on their own island, even though we're connected. But in terms of how we do things in Canada, Canadians generally are very kind of sociable people. They like to kind of meet out in shopping centers and malls and so on. And, it's a big deal to kind of go out, do shopping, get the deals, share those deals. And I think that with the situation that's happening right now with COVID-19, it's kind of really changing the whole dynamic of how people actually shop. E-com is really, really undeveloped in Canada compared to the UK. The likes of the giants like Amazon, for example, are really still emerging in Canada. Whereas the US, they're kind of a little bit more progressive on that area. Home delivery is really just kind of kicking off. It's been around for a long time now from a bigger retailer kind of perspective in the UK. So things like that definitely are really accelerating. Let's put it that way. The demand for those is really high. The pressure on those industries is high. And we're finding that things that may have been in the timeline for maybe 3 to 5 years from now are really kind of being accelerated by retailers to be more like the next kind of 6 months. Or even shorter than that. They're literally any project outside of how to get product to customer is off the table. And now we're really focusing on that supply chain.
Yeah. And is that primarily where you're seeing the biggest effect in terms of supply and the type of goods you're producing? Because obviously you're producing a lot of different brands and stuff, but I suppose there's going to be a leaning towards more commodity style, easy access goods and laying off some of the wider range, maybe, given that people are a little bit more panicked in what the type of stuff that they're buying.
Yeah, well, I think it's a combination of the demand and what retailers are looking for to kind of replenish their shelves, but also in terms of the actual resources, on our end to produce those products that are needed. So while we were not expecting, and it wasn't forecasted for sales to kind of go the way they are in some of the areas, we're ending up having to kind of scramble for that inventory to produce those products to supply to retailers, but also pivot a little bit and think, okay, well, if we can't get that supply, what can we give instead? And what maybe for some of the retailers, I know, Rob, you'll know that they kind of give a lot of pushback in many cases on products. They've obviously got to meet certain criterias. They've only got certain shelf space for products. And so at the moment, a lot of products that maybe we had struggled to get into stores over the last, let's say, 5 years, they're now open to accept because they need something on their shelf. So, so it's an interesting situation, for brands, for customers. They're seeing products that maybe they've never seen before. There's a lot of companies that their kind of bread and butter is kind of going down. Like, people are not purchasing that, so they're pivoting a little bit and manufacturing things that they never thought they would manufacture. I was just reading the other day that a lot of alcohol producers now are, rather than producing as much, say, spirit alcohol, they're now producing sanitizing products and and hand gels and things like that. And so they're kind of using their skills and expertise in one area and manufacturing something else. Yeah. So it's changing, and it's difficult to keep up. Every day is something different. Brands are constantly having to kind of reimagine their strategies in terms of new product launches. And even going to the retailer situation, the way that retail is working in Canada, and I think it's the same in the UK, is they have certain times of the year that they do a planogram change. So they're changing their shelf set. And that's all been pushed out. So a lot of products that maybe were planned for the first half of the year, there's just not a priority to get new products in right now. It's getting more of the products people already know. Yeah. Because people are not backing those products when they're launching, because you could spend $1 million on a TV campaign that no one's watching. So they're kind of pulling a lot of support for things and just really focusing on getting those core products on the shelves that people are wanting. Yeah.
I mean, it's a really unprecedented time. It sounds, typically, I mean, Rob, you probably can offer good commentary on this, but it typically, like, consumer goods brands or consumer health brands, have quite a strict, rigid scheduling process and as you say, times of year for putting certain things out and planning for brands to go out and stuff like that. So it must be a really strange time for them to react to such a drastic change in buying by the consumer.
Yeah, I think you're obviously planning for projects for potentially quite a few years, particularly if you're working in consumer healthcare, because the timelines are, to suddenly find you can't launch stuff that you've been sweating for the last 2 or 3 years, and that's a big problem. It could actually save you if you hadn't actually got it ready. But hey, no, it's incredibly disruptive, isn't it? And let's hope it's not going to be for too much longer than 6 months, because any longer than that, it can have a massive effect, couldn't it?
Yeah, I suppose this message. Sorry, Jamie, go on.
So I say, even if this, if this does last less than the 6 months that they've said, I do think that the effects will carry on afterwards, because, like we said in the podcast yesterday, the after effects of this is people look back at the business model and the way they've been operating and realize how fragile it actually can be when something like this happens. Mm-hmm. So I think, anyone that sort of goes through this and then kind of just goes back to business as usual and doesn't sort of adapt to it, has kind of missed, the messages that have been shouted at them from everyone at the moment. That when things go back to normal, we kind of need to look at how can we be more resilient, how can we be more agile, and how can we adapt to situations like this.
It's a great point, Jamie. I was just reading something actually today that talked about the fact that this is changing kind of the retail landscape forever. It's not kind of a short-term thing. And it is interesting when you think of it that way, that, in a lot of cases, maybe brands or retailers or even consumers have been trying to push for some kind of change for such a long time. And now it takes something like this, and now everything's kind of changing in such a short amount of time forever. They could have been done a certain way for 40 years, and now suddenly the next 40 years are going to be very different.
Yeah, I personally think it's really interesting the way you spend your money, because obviously we're all self-employed, so a lot, we're the first people tend to cut. So you have to look at what you're doing with your money. And like today, I'm at home with my kids all the time. Normally we'd be going to coffee houses, going out for a meal. So you suddenly find other ways of entertaining yourselves, and it's going to make you really think about the money you've probably saved. And the whole effect on consumerism could be really, really interesting. I love buying records, so I'm always buying like an album every week. I haven't done that for the last couple of weeks, and I'm probably not going to be doing it for the next 6 months either. So, you suddenly start to realize, what was I doing wasting all my money buying that nonsense that I never listened to, or those clothes that I never wear, all those beans that are in the cupboard for the next 6 years.
Yeah.
It's going to affect every company.
And I think there'll be a forced push to digital after this. We've mentioned this already in other videos, but if we're particularly talking about retail, people that maybe haven't been a big fan of online shopping, of e-commerce and things, don't really have that much choice, especially, in the UK. I don't know what it's like over there, but there is no choice. You kind of have to look at those things if you want anything. So when we get at the back end of this, I wonder if there'll be more people that are kind of a bit more comfortable with it. So there'll be a kind of a surge of online retail and people looking for more online shopping than actual physical shopping.
Yeah. Well, they've developed that relationship with online shopping during this time that they didn't have before. They were unsure about it, to your point. They didn't trust it. They're the kind of fear of the unknown. Yeah. And then they kind of have to do it. And I think they're going to get maybe less people overall in store. It might seem that there's going to be a surge right after, when people can actually leave the house. Everyone's suddenly going to, maybe online shopping will suddenly dip because everyone's like, I just need to go to the shops, like the shop. I need to see the products on the shelves.
A couple of points on that, really, in terms of, when we get back to normal, whatever that is, after this whole pandemic situation happens, what do we think really is the likely direction for the consumer? So let's say we take the Canadian market, so firstly, you've said already that, they're not massively into kind of e-commerce or home shopping or whatever, but now they're kind of pushed into that direction because that's the way it is. So firstly, do we see that growing? Secondly, are they going to have stockpiled so much stuff that you're going to see a massive drop in sales? Obviously, you're seeing exponential sales right now because like everyone's buying what they can, but is that going to massively drop? And is that something that like companies like yours would be forecasting for or expecting to happen? And also, is that going to become the norm? Are people now going to be in the world of let's make sure the pantry is full in case it happens again, and getting into that kind of bulk buying all the time thing? It'd be interesting to see what your thoughts are from the ground on your side.
No, it's a good thought. I definitely think that with the surge of e-commerce and also online shopping I'm using my Canadian words here for my grocery shopping.
It's all right, we'll subtitle it at the
end. I definitely think that, like I said earlier, that retailers have really had to develop that really quickly. I think they're really feeling the pressure for it right now, just based on the fact that, several people, I don't do online grocery shopping. I live across the street from a grocery store. So I just go across with my mask on and my gloves. It's funny because it's slowly getting accepted. But at the very beginning, people look at you and think that you're the affected one, because you're trying to protect yourself. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent there. But I think that as people are more and more registering for these online shopping sites, despite right now it's kind of a 2 to 4 week kind of timeline to even get something to your door, just because they're so overworked right now. There's not enough vehicles. There's not enough people to actually bring things to people's houses. I think that there's a lot of people that, to Jamie's point earlier, are trusting it. I think that it's going to continue. I do think that there'll be a bit of a lull right after, just because, as I said earlier, people want to get into the stores and buy things. But I do think that the long-term picture is for Canada, particularly, that it's growing. It will grow a lot quicker. People are trusting that online shopping experience. Something that's actually a little different as an insight to the way the UK and Canada shop is, in Canada, we really, really heavily rely on flyers. And when I mean by flyers, I don't have one to hand here, but they're basically produced by retailers, and they're like mini little magazines, printed on kind of newspaper, stock paper. And they're made every single week by retailers, and they're sent out to everyone's homes, either in newspapers or they're in kind of an insert kind of cover almost. And they're sent out every week, and people, the way the Canadian shop is, they go through the flyers and they kind of mark off what it is they're going to buy, and that it's kind of a couponing culture, it's a flyer culture, and it's very different, I think, to the way the UK shop in that respect. And so those are really targeted on getting people into the stores, trying to get foot traffic in. And so I'm not sure what's going to happen from that perspective. I know that digital flyers are kind of becoming more popular to actually get people to kind of, we call them like flyer clipping. So you kind of online, and you can kind of make this little app of like a portfolio of all the things you want to buy. So maybe that's going to go more digital, and then you can add them to like your shopping cart online.
You could trigger them from the packaging, couldn't you, with a digital trigger on the packaging? So you're constantly updating a flyer that's coming from the pack. It's a free one for you there, Jordan.
Right. Make a note of that one.
No, but that's an interesting point, isn't it? So I mean, the culture change there, really. So you say, it's a footfall based culture. They're a couponing culture. They like to get stuff through the door, go in, take their vouchers in, buy stuff off the shelf. And now there's a real opportunity to change that, and maybe that's a good thing in terms of what's going on in environmental responsibility and less vehicles on the road and all that kind of stuff. Could this disease aside, could this pandemic almost be a great catalyst for pushing change of consumerism in terms of how often we buy, how much we buy, and the way that we buy it? Yeah,
and just to kind of answer that, plus the end of your last question about kind of stocking up, pantry loading, as we call it, I definitely think that, especially a lot of the brands at my company it wasn't forecasted to have this surge of people stocking up in the first half of the year, and I'd say that's the same for the rest of the businesses in the same industry. It couldn't have been forecasted. We couldn't have predicted this. So I think it's as well as retailers having to really quickly adapt themselves, I think brands and manufacturers do too. We have to think, what does that second half of the year look like? And I think for a lot of businesses, it's now changing your media strategy and your communication to focus on actually driving consumption of products rather than trying to drive sales. In terms of additional purchases, I think if your message is in that respect, it's going to go over people's heads because they think, I've got too much of it, I don't need any more. Whereas if you're driving people to use more of it, they again, in effect, need to go buy more. So I think that's the change that we got to make. It's you're not getting additional purchases in your communication. So
I think there'll be a few trends that we see off the back of this actually, which will really affect marketing, definitely in the communication messages, and obviously how people operate. I think what you said is exactly right. I think there will be like this kind of big the week that this ends. It's sort of the all clears given. I imagine every shopping centre and every mall in the UK, Canada, and anywhere in the world will be full, like just completely full of people. But I think at some point that will die down because of, again, this comfort that people have found with online shopping, and those people will also be stepping up their efforts as well, the online retailers, to deliver more. But one thing I think might be interesting, and I kind of expect this to happen, is kind of like we have refill packs like in the UK. I don't know if you guys get them over there, but if you're buying a product, you can get a refill of it. It's like a cheaper, small version of it to refill the original product. I kind of imagine people almost doing like the survival version of a product. You know what I mean? So like you can buy that, but then you can also buy some like bulk buy, hide it under the stairs version of whatever. and that to become more of a thing, and like, you know, people to actually always have that kind of stockpile of things in there, like the preppers kind of culture that we see a lot in America. You know, people are going to just constantly have a couple of survival toilet rolls in their closet.
Well, you know, it's funny actually, because you kind of bang on exactly with how the retail environment's changing over here. This, like, virus aside, I'm going to steal your comment there, Wayne. Virus aside, people are shifting more towards that larger pack size, and because they obviously offer greater value, and they basically eliminate trips to the store. You know, you can just buy the one and not need to go back to get that another 3 times. And so the grocery and retail chains such as Costco, I'm not sure. I don't think they're as entwined in the kind of consumer buying process in the UK maybe as they are here. I think from memory, obviously I've been out of the retail space in the UK for a little while, but I from memory, the membership side of Costco is you needed to have some kind of business or something like that to be able to go.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, in Canada and the US, you don't. It's anyone can get a membership for Costco. And Costco actually doesn't make money off selling products. They only make money off memberships. So it's an interesting kind of insight there. But so they're really trying to drive that membership, and that they want the products to be as cheap as possible to offer the greatest amount of value to consumers. And so the kind of mentality that people go to these kind of bulk kind of wholesale stores like Costco, and they buy these large pack sizes is growing. Costco is the fastest growing retailer in Canada. And for that very reason, then it's kind of putting a lot of pressure on other businesses like Walmart to actually push their brands and manufacturers to make larger pack sizes. And so from a manufacturing side, we get a lot of pressure from retailers to have those kind of Costco products, but it's like you're trying to manage it. You know, you're trying to manage your environment. If you kind of start launching things like that in general retail, then your Costco business suffers. So it's kind of it's an interesting dynamic.
I wonder if there'll be an effect or any pressure on manufacturers as well to look at increased shelf life. You know, obviously with things like this in mind, if people are going to be looking at things that can last longer on the shelf, and I mean, I know obviously that's something that manufacturers will always look at anyway and try to get the best shelf life they can. But you know, I wonder if that's something that people will be more drawn towards. You know, how long will it actually stay good if I, you know, put it in a closet and kind of hide it there?
Yeah, it's a good point. Fortunately, a lot of the brands I work on don't have a shelf life per se. You know, they're like things like laundry products and so on. But I imagine in the space that maybe some of your backgrounds are, particularly Rob, you know, in consumer health, their, you know, efficacy kind of decreases over time and on products and things like that. So people are, to Jamie's point, they want to buy these bigger pack sizes of, let's say, paracetamol or something like that. And it might take them 5 years to use this amount, but does the product last 5 years? I don't know. You know.
There's a massive cultural thing with this as well, isn't it? Because like in the UK, you can only buy 12 or 18 paracetamols because they don't want to make it too easy to commit suicide.
So that's different to here.
Yeah. So you can buy like 500 Tylenols in a jar and just not trying to encourage anyone to do that, obviously. But like for me, it's a big cultural thing, isn't it? I know in the US, your houses tend to be bigger, and you know, so you can buy like 1 million toilet rolls, and you've got somewhere to put them. In the UK, that just will never happen because people live in smaller houses, and you know, the culture is going to the shops more regularly. So there's a massive cultural thing in this, but there's obviously an environmental benefit as well as, you know, being stocked up survivalist mentality as well. So, you know, things are going to inevitably go that way. It's really interesting to hear what you said about lack of internet shopping and delivery, Jordan, because that, you know, clearly everywhere else in the world is, you know, it's ripe and it's certainly in the Western world. And, you know, it sounds like there's an opportunity for Alibaba in Canada from what you're saying.
I think so. I mean, I'm definitely very familiar with Alibaba, but I don't think it's in people's mindset when they're buying kind of that bulk product. But just from my own personal perspective, your comment about kind of stocking up and things, and prior to any of this happening, let's think back to maybe December last year, before this was really a thing. I would say I probably had the same amount of product in my storage room in here, like my house, than I do now. You know, I already had probably 60 toilet paper rolls.
Can we borrow some?
Yeah, I know. I need to start locking it up, put it in a safe or something. but just because of that kind of stock up mentality, and I wasn't planning for any type of apocalypse or anything. It's just, you know, I just had it because, well, you know what, it's $5 off in the store, and you know what, I'm going to buy 3 of them because why not? I've got, you know, to your point, houses are bigger. We have basements, so we actually have 3 floors to most houses rather than just 2. So because of that, you know, people can buy more and stock up, and I'd say I didn't personally need to panic buy anything because I was already stocked, and I think that's probably a lot of people are like that, but a lot of people think I still don't have enough, you know, because you don't know. I think that's going back to my point I made earlier, fear of the unknown. People don't know when this is going to end. They don't know if at some point all retailers are going to be closed at some, you know, for a certain amount of time. Like they're already making shifts towards closing certain days of the week, like just to kind of stock up and give supply chain some relief. The good thing is now they're actually opening. I think they're doing it in the UK maybe as well, but they're opening their stores like an hour earlier and staying an hour later for kind of elderly people and healthcare workers.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I think one thing this has really shown is like how irrational the consumers are, because like, the whole thing of buying toilet roll. I mean, there's no reason why you would need more toilet roll because of COVID. And then we look at the US and people are queuing up to buy an assault rifle, and you know, you just think it's just so irrational and extreme, people's reactions to things. But it just shows you how cultural and how consumer behavior is influenced by things. And you know, normally
they got to defend their toilet paper. So.
Yeah, dig a big hole.
Yeah. Well, they do if you've got 60 rolls in your cupboard. My God, you sound like a millionaire. I mean, I think there's a real opportunity there to for changes in. I mean, as we've already established, in each country has its own kind of culture of buying and purchasing. But actually, there's a real opportunity here for this culture to shift once again. I mean, just relating between retail and healthcare a little bit. I mean, I wonder if there's going to be there'll be a continued rise of purchasing things like medical things, you know, paracetamol or whatever, or cleaning products, you know, to maintain that kind of cleanliness and worried about the next thing. You know, I wonder if that increase will continue to be the norm, and people start looking more at their own health and the cleanliness of their own house and the type of laundry cleaner they're using off the back of it.
I would have thought that people will be more worried about infections moving forward. So that means antiseptics, disinfectants, hand washers, having some of those basic antipyretics, painkillers in the cupboard. That will definitely move forward. You know, taking vitamin supplements for immunity. You know, there is some evidence to say that taking vitamin C reduces viral infections. It's quite shaky, but hey, you know, but all of these things you can imagine are things that people could play on moving forward. You know, I saw something about disinfecting your toothbrush the other day, purely about COVID and passing germs from one toothbrush to another. So I think a lot of that could easily find a big change in people's behaviour. Because this is like a genuinely unprecedented thing. We've never had to deal with it on a global scale before. We've obviously had SARS and MERS, which were very localized and horrible, but because they didn't affect everybody, they weren't quite as as all consuming as this has been. So it's certainly going to change behaviour. There's an opportunity for consumer goods companies to work out what kind of kits do people want and provide kits in some kind of way. Have auto replenishment. So when you've used a tablet for your fever, the system knows that, and it knows when you've used 12, so it sends you another pack. All of those kind of things could become really interesting models, I think.
Is that something that's developing from like Amazon perspective, like the kind of subscription model in the UK?
Not really, but Amazon are actually making some really interesting plays in health, for example. So if you check out Amazon and the company they bought called PillPack. I mean, PillPack is effectively a way of delivering people's medicines daily. So Amazon have bought them, So clearly they're thinking about how do we give people the medicines and supplements and things they need every day,
Convenience.
and making it and a really personalized. So it's just what you need. All big things, but some of these players could be really interesting in this world when people are more anxious about their health.
Yeah. Well, something that's I don't know if, like I said, if they're doing this in the UK per se, but in Canada, it's emerging, this sign up and save with Amazon, the subscription kind of process. So, and brands are needing to kind of participate in these. So to actually recruit kind of long-term, loyal consumers. So they get a greater saving, when they sign up for 3 months worth of your product. And then by that point, the routine's in place.
We have something, it's Amazon Pantry, it's called in the UK. I think it is in a few other countries as well. But if you buy certain products or grocery products, you can basically just, like say, put a subscription against that, and then you pay every month or 3 months or whatever it is. And obviously that represents a better saving. But for Amazon, it's great because they know that you're going to keep going there for your groceries for a while, and then if you want something additional, why would I go to shop for that one additional thing? I'll just add it on to my next delivery. I think it's still been quite slow for people to adopt it over here. Amazon deliveries are huge over here. We see every day, if you look out the window, there's a delivery truck going past or something. It's a huge thing. But the subscription side of it, I think, is still kind of emerging. It may change massively when we get to the other end of this, and people just want that constant feed of things, coming into the house. So.
I think people.
Go ahead.
So I was just going to say, I think people are just discovering as well, despite how big Amazon is and other providers in terms of getting deliveries. Yeah, Jordan, you touched upon it earlier. There still is this sense of security of going to the supermarket and picking up your weekly shop or whatever. It's something that you do because you need it, and it's almost becomes part of the life routine that is your life. And then, of course, now you get pushed into these very odd situations where it's a lot more restricted and you can't do that. And even when you do, the stuff isn't on the shelf, or whatever. So you're having to look for alternatives, and you start Googling toilet paper or razor blades or whatever it is you start to look for. And then you sort of take in a punt to say, well, I'll just subscribe on here for the next 3 months because they can deliver it out to me. And then almost it's like this slow conversion. I wonder if we'll just see this like shift where we say, well, we've been doing it for 3 months like this, so we might as well just continue it,
I think it depends on how old your product is as well, because something I've always said to clients if they've got a retail business and they're asking about promoting through, Amazon and things like this, is I always say to them, Amazon's not really the best for discovering new products as such, because if it's something people haven't experienced before, they want to go to a physical place and hold it and touch it and see it and try it to know it works. It's very hard to do that through, a square image on a website. So the majority of orders and things that go through Amazon, especially for, perishable things or whatever, it's things people have tried, they know they like it, and they're ordering online because they want the convenience of just having that come to the house. But when it comes to something new, they want the experience of everything that comes with it. It's not just about convenience. They want the discovery experience of learning about the product and trying it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I'm trying to think of what the term is, but basically, it's called, it's like showrooming. I'm not sure if that's something that you come across, but it's that a lot of retailers are becoming kind of, glorified showrooms for products, and then people then go online and price check. So maybe to your point, they're going in store, they're feeling things, they're looking at it, and then they're just looking at it online. How much is this? And so I'm wondering if that, especially for Walmart, for example, they're finding a lot of their people, their consumers that are in store are actually looking at and comparing their products prices to things online, and they're always kind of very proud to have the lowest kind of price. But between like Amazon and Walmart, for example, Amazon has an algorithm in place that anytime another retailer selling the same product reduces their price, the Amazon price goes down to match it automatically. And in many cases, they could be losing money because it costs so much to ship some products, but their price is matched. So
it's nice to be the biggest company in the world, isn't it?
They just want the consumer because they know that they're going to buy that cat litter, or they're going to buy that whatever, that heavy item that maybe they don't want to go into the store and pick up. But then they're also going to buy this, and this. And just to kind of add to that, something that's becoming really popular on Amazon here now is that this mentality that you've got to buy $35 worth of stuff before you can actually buy this product. So they're called add-on items.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't buy it; they won't ship it because
they've only started doing that in the UK recently, and they only do it on certain products. But you have like the blue box and it says add-on product, and unless you've got enough in your basket, you're not allowed to buy that product.
Because their margin's so small, so they won't ship it because they make no money. So it's got to be put in the box with something else.
But it kind of becomes like a game, because then and if you don't have Amazon Prime, so you're paying for delivery, after a certain amount you get free delivery on certain products. So it becomes this game of like, what else do I need? And like, I need that kind of like bobblehead for my car for that for £5 whatever, just to make it up. And I'm pretty sure the amount that they're making from those additional purchases, well covers the free shipping and the cost of those add-on products.
The funny thing is, I've done that several times, and then when the boxes arrive, because one was delayed, that add-on item comes in its own box anyway. Like 3 days later, so it's got this huge box, and then you open it up and it's a pack of batteries.
It's a flaw in the system there. This is really interesting. I mean, outside of this as well, I just wonder if there'll be opportunity for kind of like do it yourself, grow your own, that kind of a growth in that market in terms of self-sufficient and less reliant on pre-packaged goods and things like that. Do we envisage like a growth in that area? I suppose you can only really do that with produce, really, but I mean, it'd be interesting. People buying like less clothing and things like that. I suppose there's going to be a trend in that, I thought. Yeah,
I think, and Rob made a good point earlier that people are maybe indulging a little bit less. They're trying to get the full life out of things that they already have. I think we're in a society, especially in the Western world, that when something's kind of half worn, it's like, I don't need, I'll get a new one. And I think people are actually getting the full life out of things now, or they're at least trying. They're trying to revive things, trying to fix things. And I see things online all the time about the older generation and how, when something would break, they would fix it and not purchase something new. And I think definitely that DIY mentality, the kind of grow your own, it's growing and increasing. I think and you mentioned it maybe just be from a produce perspective, but I do think that there's pressure on, like, in my case, like laundry brands, because this is kind of growing trend that people are trying to make their own laundry detergents out of, use this chemical and this kind, and there's this growing trend on YouTube for people to make their own kind of concoctions of things. I mean, thankfully, when they don't work, they come back to the brands. But there's a lot of pressure on brands to.
Sure. I mean, what I was alluding to there a little bit as well is because, as we said at the start, you look after a couple of legacy brands as well. So things like baking soda and stuff like that. And it's kind of highlighting the multiple uses of this product in different scenarios outside of actually making food. And I just wonder if those opportunities, those sort of tutorial videos, the kind of good house, home, the way to get the best out of your products and stuff like that. I just wonder if there's a whole new market in there, and you could utilize some of your legacy goods to push them in that direction.
Yeah, well, we're actually, a lot of brands, particularly ones that are under the Church and Dwight wing, are already making those kind of how-to videos, because there is that rise in consumer demand for, how do I do this? And that actually is kind of even like a wider kind of trend that in terms of how people shop, how people use search online. People are asking more questions rather than before. It was like, if you wanted to use Google, you had to use keywords. It was like this keyword, and then that was what your search came out with. Now you could say, I'm not going to say it because my phone's going to listen to me, but you could say the magic keyword followed by a question.
Yeah.
You know, and then it's going to give you an answer. And I think brands are having to think in that direction. You know, what are people asking and how are they asking it? And I've forgotten what the question was.
First Wayne, don't worry.
Yeah, it wasn't that relevant to be fair. I was just curious if you could use some of your legacy stuff to do it yourself things at home, but you've touched upon it anyway. Yeah.
I'm like heading in this direction and suddenly. This is what we do in marketing. We get distracted and there's so many things. And
now, listen, this is really interesting. I think the thing that's highlighted here is that you're right. The time that we're in is unprecedented. It's certainly given a sharp push to consumerism in various different areas, and I think there's likely to be a knock-on effect in digital e-commerce, a knock-on effect in environment and footprint, and how long we're using stuff and how much we're buying and things like that, and probably a knock-on effect as well in maintaining cleanliness, health. And just the way that we live a little bit, you know, which I suppose are all things that consumer goods brands are going to have to be considering, you know, post this apocalyptic kind of moment that we're in. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the long-term change could be quite dramatic across the board. What do you think, guys? I think that's probably the case, or something that needs to be in consideration.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any way you can go through something like this and not see a change of trends coming back end of it. I mean, we're making kind of predictions today. No one knows 100% what the case will be when this is over. But something that is pretty much certain is that it will change the retail landscape, the manufacturing landscape, marketing, and pretty much any other industry, because people are going to have to start considering, you know, the implications of something like this. So yeah, I think it's unavoidable, and we have to kind of just be prepared for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to think of something that's literally affected the whole world. I mean, even like the First and Second World War didn't affect the whole world, did it? So, and this is genuinely having a massive effect, and hopefully it will be over in 3 or 6 months' time. Who knows? But it could actually become an endemic illness that happens every year. In which case, you know, imagine that scenario where the vaccine needs to be changed every year, and a certain number of people die every year, and it's, you know, effectively where we are with influenza, except on a bigger scale. So yeah, it could be some bit. That's a really shitty negative end there, isn't it? Sorry about that. But yeah, I think obviously that means people will do different things, which is great for innovation, and people will have to do different things, which there's a lot of opportunity there potentially.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, really interesting. I think and if it is going to change, then obviously the brands and the manufacturers need to have this in their consideration. You know, if the media start, for example, pushing that message, for example, Rob, you know, that, well, listen, we've got past it, but there might be another strain next year or whatever, then consumers are naturally going to, hopefully, well, I presume, going to start prepping for that situation, you know, that kind of panic prepping. And maybe the situation is shifted, that it doesn't become panic prepping, but actually it becomes the normality, a way of having a storage stuff, or a way of living.
I think we made this point yesterday, but pretty much every business out there will have multiple plans of how to make sure they always keep doing what they're doing today. They'll have, you know, if they're manufacturing a machine breaks, they've got a plan for that. Very few people have a plan for what about when just like all shit hits the fan and like everything kind of breaks and our entire business model no longer works. Because that is a lot to think about, and that does require a massive change in thinking. But this just highlights that can happen. It's happened on the global scale to pretty much every company, I would imagine, is in a similar situation. So if anything, I think coming out the back of this, one thing that businesses will hopefully get from this is, let's sort of put some plans in place for being a bit more agile, or looking at how we could maybe change our business model and you know, think a little bit differently about what are our goals as a business, what we want to achieve, and is there another way of doing that than how we're doing it today? Yeah.
No, really good point. Okay, listen, guys, this has been really good. Jordan, I'm very aware of your time because we've kind of pulled you out of your work day. So, but listen, thanks for being on the show. It's been really interesting to get your take from the other side of the pond, and it sounds like you're having your own your own struggles to navigate this every day like the rest of us. I think we're all in the same boat, but be really interesting to see what the outcome of this is in a few months' time. So maybe we can recap at the back end of the year and reflect at what's happened. But in the meantime, for those at home, as always, if you've got any comments for this, please add your comments in the comments below and let us know if you've noticed any particular changes within your business or the way, particularly if you're in retail or consumer goods or manufacturing. We're really interested to know, what changes are happening in your world. So please feel free to comment. And we look forward to seeing you for the next video. So boys, thanks very much for being on the show. Jordan, see you again soon. See you next time.
Comment.
Cheers, thanks.
Prioritize. That's
prioritize. Guys. Prioritize. Take care, guys.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.